This is what I've been most looking forward to this whole Europe trip. This right here.
On the southern coast of Denmark, near the quiet town of Rodbyhaven, lies one of the world's largest infrastructure projects, the Fehmarn Belt Fixed Link. In part 1, we covered Denmark and Germany's effort to finally cross the 18-kilometer stretch of the Baltic Sea called the Fehmarn Belt with what will be the world's longest immersed tube tunnel. The finished tunnel will not only allow cars and trucks to cross in only 10 minutes, but will also offer high-speed rail. But before crews could do anything tunnel-related, one of the world's largest dredging operations had to unfold. And this is where we pick up today's video, with FBC, the dredging and earthworks contractor for the project, composed of the two marine construction giants, Boskalis and Van Oord. With that, let's head out to sea.
The joke is that God made the earth, but the Dutch made Holland. And what they mean by that is the Dutch are extremely good at marine construction. Their whole country is essentially under the sea level, and they've had to engineer all of this amazing stuff to build where they live. And so as a result, they've developed this incredible skill set around marine construction. So for a project like this, one of the biggest marine construction projects ever undertaken in Europe, it's no wonder that the Dutch are here to do the work. Boskalis, Van Oord, world class. These are two companies that I've always wanted to see for years now, and I'm so happy to be here checking them out. We're approaching the biggest triple boom excavator they have on site based on a 6015B. It's not working tonight, but Lars asked his colleague to get in it and wiggle it around a little bit for some photo and video. So we'll show you this machine right now, and we'll cover some of the specs here in a little bit. Why are all these machines triple boom configuration? You've got 1, 2, 3 triple boom. The reason is it gives you the reach while still allowing you to work close to the machine. So it gives you the full range of motion. If that was just a traditional long reach, you can get out far from your machine, but as you get closer in, it's a lot harder to work. So having that boom split in two gives you a lot more flexibility when you're working on a rock wall like this. And that is the, that's not the biggest triple boom in the world, but one of them.
And now for some specs of this mighty machine built by Van Tunen.
But if you go to Canada, then you should visit the Yukon.
No, I would love to go to the Yukon.
If I need to arrange something for you, to have a look at my brother, and
okay,
I can do.
No, I'd love that. Yeah, I've always wanted to get up there.
It's also possible with this excavator.
I see.
This one as a material handler, and then we put our triple boom in there.
I see.
We put some extra ballast on there, and the nice thing of this is the material handlers have a wider frame, so that gives us more stability to do our thing with our triple boom.
So you didn't have to do anything with the frame?
With the no.
Yeah.
That is still original.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah.
Can we see the cab go up?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she's a little tired.
About 2 months here, I think. And this one, you're spending 2 months in it, so.
That is crazy.
Right, now that I can say I've seen a 60-15 triple boom with Tony Beats' brother, let's get back to the main program.
All right, we had our fun with the 60-15 triple boom. Now we're on the other side of the project, and this is where a majority of the dredged material from the trench ended up. They built a lot of new land here that'll eventually be a recreational area, beautiful beach, etc. Around the area, to keep it from eroding back into the water, they've built this breakwater. So the breakwater is built of those big rocks, so as the water pounds against this slope, those rocks protect it. It's called armor stones, another word for it. Everything is to design now, and they have a few rocks left over. So they sailed this little barge over here this evening, and there is a 390 with a long reach and grapple grabbing the rocks. There's another excavator on shore handing the rocks to the big excavator on the barge. He's grabbing each with the grapple and placing them on the barge, and they're gonna haul these off. The tug right there, the Dutch power tug, is what brought this barge over here. And then once it got over here, they have these spuds, these big sticks on the side of the barge that they lowered down to anchor that into place so that it's not moving as they're loading these rocks. So that's what's going on here. The claw up close. This is a hydraulic grapple. It can spin around, it can grab the rocks that we have here that we've built the breakwater out of. They're using this because it's much more effective than the bucket at this distance. He can just use this to grab onto whatever he needs to grab onto. It doesn't matter the shape. This thing can hug whatever rock is out there without having to mess around and push stuff around. It's just a lot faster to use something like this. And seeing one this big, quite a bit of fun.
It updates in real time. So if you were to take a dig on the seabed, it will show you where you dug on the seabed.
Are you using that right now, really, or not really?
I just looked at it. I used it to come in to position the barge, so you use
Oh, I see.
But like if you were placing rock and stuff, you would.
You'd be looking at that non-stop.
Especially underwater. You'd be placing it, and then you'll do your click data, then survey.
Because underwater, you can't see anything you're doing. Yeah.
So you're looking at this the whole time.
Wow.
So most of your work, especially on the water, you're looking at the screen all the time. You're not looking at where your bucket is.
That's amazing. Oh. All right. That was one of the 390 long reaches with the claw. I'm gonna get back on the boat, keep sailing.
Our evening cruise was fantastic, but let's get to the meat and potatoes of what the heck is going on here. Dredging means underwater excavation, and it happens worldwide to build ports, create new land, and, in this case, make room for new underwater tunnels. Contractors use a few methods to make this happen: mechanical and hopper dredging, which we'll cover more in a moment. This project had 3 major dredging operations. The first was to develop the work harbor, where each element will enter the water for eventual placement outside the factory. Second was to excavate an 18-kilometer-long trench along the seafloor, measuring 90 meters wide and 16 meters deep, to accommodate the new tunnel elements. All this dredging generated about 15 million cubic meters of material, bringing us to the third and final operation: land reclamation on the Danish coast, creating a new 25-hectare area that will eventually have new beaches, a lake, and walking paths. Back to methodology. FBC called in the world's 2 largest backhoe dredges, Boskalis' Magnor and Van Oord's Simpson, to excavate a vast portion of the trench. The Magnor has a Greenline 12700 excavator based on Caterpillar's 6090. At over 2,300 tons and wielding a bucket of up to 40 cubic meters, it's safely the world's largest backhoe dredge. The Simpson is close behind, weighing 1,700 tons and with a bucket capacity of up to 34 cubic meters. They both worked 24/7, loading material into awaiting barges, which transported it all to land. And for deeper waters, FBC used hopper dredges, which are enormous ships equipped with large vacuums they drag along the seafloor, sucking up material as they go and depositing it all into the onboard hopper. Once full, the ship pulls up its drag head and pumps the material directly to land via a floating pipeline. And speaking of new land, let's get back out to site to see what they're doing to finish up the new landscape.
To de-water this area, we have to squeegee the water out to some trenches on the other side. So that's what this operation is doing. We've got the articulated trucks bringing these 2 machines some material. The dozer is a super LGP, so it's not just LGP, it's significantly wider than the traditional LGP dozers because this is really, really soft ground. It's pushing then the material to a long reach. The long reach is sitting on mats because if it were sitting on that material, it would sink right in. And then that long reach is working that material out in front of those 2 machines, and they'll eventually work their way across this entire area, making it a lot more sound and less saturated underneath. This is a final trim operation, so they've got the GPS dozer cutting to the finished design. But what's really interesting here are the 2 LGP machines. They've got that D6T, and if you look closely, those pads are not traditional dozer pads, they're called pyramid pads. Thanks to geometry, those pyramid pads provide a lot more surface area, which reduce that dozer's ground pressure substantially, allowing it to work in softer material. And then we've got these silly looking trucks here. These also have LGP tires on them. Those tires are 1 meter wide. Traditional tires are about half of that. So they've spread that truck's weight on twice the surface area, which essentially cuts the truck in half from a weight standpoint, allowing it to float across this mud and sand so much more easily than a traditional truck. If they were trying to run traditional trucks out here, they would be buried all over the place. Around here, it's quite soft. I haven't experienced that myself. I've just heard from them that it is quite soft here. It's a bit soft here. Yeah, a little soft. This tractor, also enormous LGP tires. This tractor will actually float on water, they said. It has this attachment in the back that's traditionally used for farming to cut drainage channels. So they're cutting these trenches across this entire surface here to get this water from the material drained out to a bigger channel that'll then eventually drain to the ocean. It's so sticky.
Yeah. That's really like pudding.
Yeah.
The actual only way to clean your pants is let it dry, and when it dries,
Yeah, it has to
leave
dry.
off the wall.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and then it's powdered. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that because I've been up to there a couple of times.
All right.
Let's get going.
This is the last of the breakwater construction. We were just right out there last night with the 390 pulling some of the excess rocks off the area I'm standing. Now we've got the Hitachi setting the last few pieces of rock. They've set a total of 2.5 million tons of stone, most of it quarried in Norway on this project, on this side in Denmark and in Germany. So this is the last little bit, pretty big deal. The rock wall is almost good to go.
Despite the cold and wet Danish weather, we enjoyed checking out FBC's work on the water. But before we could wrap up, our host said they had a photo opportunity for us. Without any questions asked, we got in the truck.
But what happens when your LGP is not LGP enough? You get this, super LGP. This is basically over twice the typical track width for this style machine. The rail is actually over here, so there's a significant overhang. That track is centered, whereas the rail is all the way over here. So this machine, when you're working with this machine, you have to be really careful because if you back into odd areas, you can actually bend these track pads. This machine, despite it being so big, has less ground pressure than my feet do. So this machine can go into material that I can't walk in. Thank you to quite a few different folks. First and foremost, FBC, so that's Boskalis and Van Oord, for giving us the permission to be out here and see the operation. It's a drone. And also to FLC for giving us the overall permission to be at the site to begin with. It was an amazing visit. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. We'll see you next time. Stay dirty.